Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. I am Ted, hanging out with some of the crew here.
Ryan.
Dave.
And today we have a GM 911 or viewer request from Jonathan Burns. And he wants to know how do you deal with essentially gaming with the disabled.
Yeah, so he's which is really cool that he's going to do this, but he's come across someone in his personal life.
I think he works like in a facility or has a friend that works in the facility.
Yeah, he's got a friend that works in a facility where they kind of have like creative outlets for people with disabilities. And there's one guy who's always wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. He likes fantasy stuff, but hasn't had the chance.
Right. So he's a quadriplegic. He doesn't really have the ability to roll dice. He may have some verbal limitations, and how do you deal with this particular situation?
Well, it sounds like he can't speak for long terms at a time. Actually, like I worked in a nursing home when I was younger, and in that nursing home there were other people that were there because they had certain disabilities, and quite a few of them were like that. They were quadriplegics and actually even had a trach. So if you have the trach, it becomes more difficult for you to speak.
So I think the first and foremost thing is you want to figure out when you're dealing with someone with limitations, you need to know what the exact limitations are. Find out, okay, is it a over a short duration? He can do speaking, or can he do short bursts? Like, can he say sentences, but then needs some time in between? So figure out what limitations your players have. Regardless of their ableness, you want to know what your players can and can't do.
Yeah, a couple traits you're really going to need is compassion, patience, and then you're also an understanding. My biggest piece of advice I could say is go meet the person and hang out with them for a couple hours a day. Something. Meet them as a friend first before you game with them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because let's face it, just because they're disabled doesn't mean they're not a dickhead. And it's just the truth. People are people, no matter what their circumstances are.
That's true.
So you have to be able to jive with them, and be somebody you want to hang out with. And so he's talking about over online. So
over
maybe
like a Roll20 or
yeah. So maybe a physical meeting is possible, but you could still get online with them and meet them, have a conversation, and just ask them. Be like, are there topics that are taboo to you? Are there things that you don't want mentioned or talked about? And just treat them like a person, really.
Absolutely,
they're people at the end of the day. So
like triggers. Like the first thing when I was reading the question, I was just like, well, like you could either like gloss over the idea of like the character riding on horseback. Like you could like just like you take a horse or whatever. Or you could describe it in great detail, like something that they can't necessarily do. Like, so I mean, like, would they like to vicariously feel what that circumstance is?
Do you want to describe in detail the wind going through their hair as the horse gallops? You rise and fall with each beat of the horse.
I can see though at a certain point though you're almost like patronizing them with it, because let's face it, like I'm allergic to horses, so I don't ride horses. What the hell am I going to tell someone about the experience of riding a horse? Other than what they could actually do themselves by watching TV.
Right.
Or whatever. So the other thing that I would definitely want to put in there is since it's essentially the character's first or the player's first time role playing, you want to totally cater the campaign around that person. Let them feel like they're the central character in a novel, and play things up so that they can really rise above, be the hero, and shine. Make the game a little bit easier because it's their first time. You definitely don't want to put them in a meat grinder and see how many characters.
No way, dude. Let them know right away you think of them just as another dude, and just off them right out the gate.
It's like the first scene is the Ned Stark on the steps.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm one of the things that you taught me many years ago is like you want to get the player in love with their character before you kill them. So it's one of those things like your first campaign, you want to get them used to the actual gaming. You don't want to have them have a negative feeling towards D&D at their first onset. So that's just my take on things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's kind of like sometimes too, if you're running con games, the advice is just to like make the encounters easier than what the characters can handle, because like it's a con game, it's supposed to be fun and light, and like, you know, the players just get the shine.
No leaping wizards.
No leaping wizards. Yeah. Yeah. So
nerds.
But yeah, you could use that sort of mentality too. Like, it's their first time out, they're still, you know, they're going to be figuring out like the capabilities of their character. So there's going to be like the learning curve of the game. Right. It kind of, to play, you know, to like use your character to the fullest, you kind of have to know how the rule set works.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules in D&D, and after you've been gaming for a number of years, then the DMs can say, all right, let me pull out the slaughter axe, and you know, how many characters can I go through?
Now, I feel like it's Jonathan, right?
Yes.
I feel like Jonathan has a friend that actually works in this facility. So his friend, I don't know if he works there or he volunteers there. So hopefully his friend has some kind of training that would allow him to some insight. Because let's face it, you know, a little disclaimer here: we are not professionals in the healthcare industry. You know, so we can't give advice on that. You know. We can just talk about gaming, and we can look at it how we would handle it, and you know, you can take it from there. And like I said, the most important thing is get to know the person, hang out with them a little bit, and just ask them direct questions. You know, you can kind of funnel those direct questions, in this case through the person that already works with them, so they might actually even know already. You're like, oh, this is off topics, or no, he wants to be treated like a regular dude. You know, you can figure it out. And then, like you said, it's like, okay, well, his verbal thing. Is it that he can't speak for long durations, or, you know, and he needs breaks, or do the sessions have to be short?
But, you know, work with the players' limitations. Make them the central figure. Make the story shine. Make it grand. You know, if that's something that he's, you know, got an interest in. If you know what he's looking for specifically out of playing D&D, you know, that's going to be all to the better. You know, so
well, it goes back to things like we've done session 0. It goes back to things like setting expectations between the GM and the player. Like, you know, just because they're disabled, it doesn't change any of that.
Yeah,
stuff.
They're all people.
You know, now you're just working with, okay, what are the limitations? Right. Can't roll dice himself, so someone else rolls the dice. Right. Big deal.
Yeah, not a big deal.
You know, can't talk for long duration. So, you know, do we need to take 15-minute breaks every X amount of time? Right. You know, it's just figuring out that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I think this one's covered. If you have any suggestions for Jonathan, please put them in the comments below.
Hey, maybe some people have done similar circumstances before,
or maybe you guys are actually professionals. Not just a couple of nerds yammering to a camera.
Right.
So while you're doing that, you know the deal. Feel free to like, share, subscribe.
You can head on over to nerdarchy.com,
or you can tweet at us on the Twitters.
So until next time, stay nerdy.